Historical gravestones are a cultural and artistic form of expression. They validate the position the deceased had in the community and celebrate their most treasured relationships. Gravestones were symbolic and also helped identify grave sites. Modern gravestones were made of granite. However, earliest gravestones were constructed out of wood. Although wood was abundant, it easily deteriorated. Gravestones made of wood soon gave way to marble or limestone. A carved design, known as a motif, was featured on the upper portion of the stone. Biographic information of the deceased would appear on the lower portion, including their age, the name of their parents, or, if the person was a married woman, it would often include her maiden name. The earliest gravestones were carved by blacksmiths, farmers, or coopers. Professional carvers were in business by the early 18th century in many American cities. However, there were no carvers in Oshawa at that time, so several stones in Oshawa display maker's marks from Whitby, Newcastle, Bowmanville, or Toronto. It wasn't until the later part of the 1880s that a maker's mark from Oshawa is seen. Not every gravestone had motifs, but the ones that did were influenced by traditional New England carvings. They expressed their modern attitudes towards life, death, and perpetual lastingness. There are 5 common designs of motifs in Ontario: hands, classical revival designs, figures, animals, and floral. Motifs with depictions of hands represent a relationship between the living and the dead. There are 4 subcategories involving hand motifs in Ontario cemeteries: upward pointing hands, which was the most common; clasping hands, when the hands are linked as if in a handshake; presenting hands, which is when the hands are holding something, most commonly a Bible or flowers; and lastly, there are descending hands, the least common of the 4. Classical revival motifs include columns, urns, obelisks, and willow trees. Figure motifs either represent a human, which may include mourning figures or representations of Adam and Eve, or they present a divine design, which may include angels. Animal motifs were rare in comparison to other types of motifs. Most animal motifs displayed birds. However, doves and lambs were also seen. Animal motifs were most commonly used for children. A lamb symbolized devotion and Christ's innocence and purity. The most prevalent motif in Ontario cemeteries was the floral design. They were used predominantly on stones for women and children because it was most likely viewed as a more feminine image. On gravestones for men, floral designs were often wreaths instead of a single flower. Each flower had separate meanings. A lily and rose symbolize purity. Fruit symbolizes the lushness of heaven. Palm leaves represent peace. And laurel leaves symbolize victory over pain. Many of the names on gravestones represent some of the earliest settlers in our community and can be recognized from the names of nearby streets, parks, businesses, schools, and buildings. One of the largest gravestones in the Port Oshawa Pioneer Cemetery belongs to Thomas Henry, a prominent elder of the Christian Church and participant in the development of early Port Oshawa. Thomas and his second wife Lorenda lived in what we now call Henry House, one of the 3 historic buildings of the Oshawa Community Museum. Lorenda, Thomas, and his first wife Elizabeth rest in the Port Oshawa Pioneer Cemetery.